let's get into the Book of Knowledge book. We're reading When Baseball and Beer Don't Mix. Promise to read every page. And this is where we're starting from last time. So let's start. An All-American game turned into a major league disaster when rowdy Cleveland fans managed to give cheap beer a bad name. The idea seemed sound enough and enticed Cleveland Indians fans to a game with 10-cent cups of beer. Nothing could go wrong, right? That's apparently what organizers thought back in 1974 when they conceived the now infamous 10-cent beer night promotion at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Needless to say, they couldn't have been more off base. To be fair, the Indians' beer bash did work in one way. More than 25,000 people, twice the team's typical crowd, packed the stands, but that's where the success ended. Foul behavior. The worst of it started in the second inning. First, a presumably intoxicated woman ran onto the field and bared her breasts for the entire stadium to see. Then in the fourth inning, a man charged the field fully naked and, believe it or not, slid into second base. Ouch. The indecent exposure continued in inning 5 when a couple of fans flashed their fannies at the Texas Rangers, the opposing team. The nudity, however, was nothing compared to what came next. People started chucking everything from tennis balls to batteries onto the field. Someone even tossed the lit firecrackers into the Rangers bullpen. Then all hell broke loose with people ripping apart seats and using pieces of metal as weapons. By the time the players got involved, an all-out riot had begun. In the end, 9 people were arrested and the Indians forfeited the game. The crowd stole all the bases, and not in the normal sense of the term. The bags have never resurfaced, nor has the dignity of the various drunkards who showed way too much skin that warm June night in 1974. Beware flying cabbage. Heads fly, but they don't roll. In Shiocton, Wisconsin, each autumn of the World Championship Cabbage Chuck, a fundraiser for a local church that pays homage to the cabbage growing community. The Shiocton area is known for its cabbage, albeit in a more refined form. Sauerkraut, which is finely shredded, fermented cabbage. Zesty, tangy sauerkraut was a favorite of the German immigrants who originally settled the area. The Great Lakes Kraut Company, located in nearby Bear Creek, dates back to 1900 and is the world's largest sauerkraut plant, processing more than 170,000 tons of raw cabbage each year. That's a lot of sauerkraut. Cabbage chuck entrants come in 2 varieties, those using air cannons to launch the leafy greens into orbit, and those who go medieval by using a trebuchet to catapult their heads of cabbage. From the firing line, entrants launch their cabbages into the air to see who can send the cabbage careening the farthest. Shiocton isn't far from Green Bay, home of the Packers, so team pride runs rampant. An outhouse painted purple and labeled Vikings draft room for one of the Pack's main NFL rivals is a hot target for flying cabbages. The record cabbage chuck has remained intact since the event began in 2006, unlike the hundreds of heads of cabbage that have been sacrificed during that time. That record is a whopping 1,171 feet, courtesy of a cabbage shot from an air cannon built by Pat Peters of Bear Creek. That should be good enough for Guinness, as there's no cabbage throwing record on the books. Still, there is a challenge to tracking the distance these heads fly. They tend to disintegrate as they move through the air, essentially changing from cabbage to coleslaw in a matter of seconds. Odd sporting events. Many modern sports have become mundane, mainstream activities, so it's refreshing to discover pursuits that fall well outside those confines. Here are a few of those untamed sports. Roach racing. At least 2 U.S. Venues offer roach racing, a sport that's definitely not meant for the squeamish. New Berlin, Wisconsin joins the fun with an annual contest held by Batzner Pest Management, and they do it with style. The contestants at this event are boisterous and ever so huge. Madagascar hissing cockroaches at the 7th annual event. In 2007, a competitor named Rocky went the distance, thus ensuring that a local charity would become $200 richer. During the Rochingham 500 held each year at Bugfest in Raleigh, North Carolina, cockroaches race in front of huge crowds that come to see this and other bug-related events. Segway polo. Why play ordinary polo on the back of an outdated analog horse when you can play on a Segway, a two-wheeled electric vehicle that is ridden while standing? This unique scooter was first put into polo playing use during the Minnesota Vikings halftime show in 2003. Since then, this funky sport has attracted many people and organized groups have popped up. Segway polo's greatest advantage over regular polo is that there's nothing to shovel off the field when the game is over. Underwater hockey. Aside from the obvious difference in playing surfaces, another major distinction between ice hockey and underwater hockey is the uniforms. Ice hockey players layer up with heavy padding and clothing, but underwater hockey players must don a swimsuit, fins, a snorkel, and a mask, and then submerge themselves in water. Invented in 1954 by Alan Blake of England, underwater hockey has evolved into an international sport. Dozens of teams from around the world compete at the World Championships, which are held every other year. The sports rules are similar to those of traditional hockey, but the equipment varies greatly between the two sports, most notably the sticks and pucks. Since underwater hockey requires that its participants push the puck along the bottom of a pool, the disc is suitably hefty, weighing about 3 pounds. On the other hand, the stick is a wimpy device approximately 1 foot long. Ferret legging. Ferret legging is a bizarre English sport with roots tracing back to the 1970s. It encourages interplay between humans and ferrets and has many critics up in arms, citing animal cruelty. The premise is straightforward. Two ferrets are dropped into a competitor's trousers after the bottoms have been tied off. This precludes an easy escape and forces the wily creatures to feverishly climb the competitor's legs in search of an exit. Yet the contestants also tightly cinch their belts just for added fun. As the ferrets become panicked, they begin to bite, a behavior that the elongated critters indulge in with alarming ferocity. And did we mention that participants must compete sans underwear? The winner is the player who ends up keeping them down the longest, to use the sports jargon. For many years, the ferret legging record stood at just under 1 minute, but the current record is more than 5 hours. A woman on the mound. Pioneers who brought new meaning to ERA. The year was 1931, and the New York Yankees were heading home from spring training, stopping to play exhibition games along the way. Facing the Chattanooga Lookouts, they must have been surprised when they saw that their mound opponent was a 17-year-old girl named Jackie Mitchell. Was she serious? She certainly thought she was, and she bent off several wicked curveballs, striking out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig consecutively on only 7 pitches. A few days later, Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis voided her contract, insisting that baseball was too strenuous for a woman. Disappointed and defeated, Mitchell began barnstorming with the House of David team, but she eventually grew tired of the circuit's sideshow antics and retired to work for her father's optometry office. Although she continued to play with the local teams, Mitchell did not play professional baseball again. It would be 66 years until another woman played in the professional game. Her name was Isla Borders, and she got her chance with the St. Paul Saints of the Independent Northern League. Borders were signed by son of a legend, Mike Veek, who claimed that it wasn't a publicity stunt. Unfortunately, Borders didn't pitch well for the Saints and was traded to the Duluth Superior Dukes. In her third appearance for the 1998 season, she earned a 3-1 win with 6 scoreless innings, becoming the first woman to win a men's pro game. Borders was praised for her curve with a variety of breaks, a changeup that worked like a screwball. He beat her control and her pitching smarts. However, her fastball wasn't strong enough for her to compete consistently. Although she had a 1.67 ERA in 15 appearances in 1999 for the Madison Black Wolf, she retired after the 2000 season. Smooth operator. Before Frank Joseph Zamboni Jr. invented his self-propelled ice resurfacing machine, cleaning a sheet of ice was laborious, time-consuming, and inefficient. Zamboni, an amateur inventor and the owner/operator of the Iceland skating rink in Paramount, California, needed a new method for sweeping the surface of his ice. Artificial ice rinks were still a novelty when Zamboni opened his facility in 1939, and it took a team of 3 people to repair and resurface the ice after it was gouged by hundreds of skaters, a procedure that took up to 90 minutes. Zamboni came up with an idea for a motorized machine that could do all the necessary work: sweep, scrape, and saturate, and could be operated by one man. He stripped an old Jeep down to its nuts, bolts, and bare underbody chassis and placed a blade on the undercarriage to shave the ice smooth. He devised a device to sweep up the shavings and deposit the icy debris into a tank that melted the scrapings and used the water to rinse the rink. After several attempts and numerous prototypes, he perfected the mechanical monster, and it became a tourist attraction in its own right. In 1950, Sonia Henney, a 3-time Olympic figure skating champion and one of Hollywood's top box office attractions, was rehearsing her new Hollywood ice review at the Iceland skating rink when she saw the revolutionary resurfacer at work. She commissioned Zamboni to build her a new model for her upcoming performances in Chicago. That endorsement allowed Zamboni to mass produce the machines that now bear his name. Zamboni does a slick business. As of 2011, the company has sold more than 9,000 ice resurfacing machines. Baseball pitches. Ever wonder about the mechanics of the various types of pitches? Here are the tricks as they apply to right-handed pitching. Question: how does one throw a curveball, and how does it move? Answer: several throwing grips begin with holding the ball in a peace sign, index and middle fingers making a V, thumb below. In contrast to the fastball, which is held with the fingertips, you cram the ball deep in the hand for a curve. Deliver the ball fully overhand with mostly top-to-bottom motion, snapping the hand as though pounding a nail with a hammer. Let the ball squirt out. If done correctly, the ball will arc sharply down and to the pitcher's left. Good curveball pitchers produce dozens of annoying little curveball variants, which is important because a good hitter can see the curve coming. How about a slider? Very different. Start with a peace sign grip, but put the fingers together like a Cub Scout salute with the thumb alongside the ball rather than below it. Cock the wrist right instead of extending your arm to throw. Pull the ball back behind your ear the way a quarterback throws a football. As you throw, cut your fingers away variously to the right, creating a fierce side spin. The ball should curve away left. A great slider thrown at the batter breaks across the plate for a strike, while the batter jackknifes away from it. Now you see why it's a hated pitch. Surgeons are familiar with the slider. Its effect on the elbow can be devastating. Kids should avoid throwing it. What about the famous splitter? It's also known as a split-fingered fastball. Put the ball in the peace sign fastball grip, but curve the fingers down the sides of the ball to make a kind of a wilted peace sign. That crams the ball between those fingers, splitting them wide apart. Now throw your normal fastball, flicking your wrist down a bit. Done right, it looks like a fastball and drops slightly just before the dish. Good hitters can hit anything they pick up, and the splitter is hard to see coming. Many Little League coaches say that the ability to change speeds is the most important pitching tool. How is a changeup thrown? The changeup can be thrown many ways, but here's a mainstream approach. Add your ring finger to the peace sign grip, thumb under the ball, but don't curl your fingers to enclose it. Throw it with all 3 fingers extended in a Boy Scout salute and aim at the catcher's head. Some pitchers have to aim at the umpire's head. Throw it like a fastball, but with more downward motion. It should look like a fastball, but it should arrive late and tend to fall off at the end. The reason you aim high to upset a hitter's timing. Good pitchers use different speeds. How do you chuck the knuck? The knuckleball is difficult, but it's so easy on the arm that its masters can pitch professional ball into their late 40s. Experiment with grips. No two are alike. Start with the Boy Scout salute changeup grip previously described, but curl the 3 fingers back on themselves so the tips dig into the ball. Align them behind a lace. Stiffen your wrist and throw the ball, flicking your fingers forward. The idea is to flick just hard enough to defeat the ball's natural backspin so that it hardly spins at all, letting wind currents cause the ball to float around, Catchers like watching the batter's head bob up and down trying to follow it. You haven't lived until you've watched someone try to bunt the Knuck moving his bat up and down. See you later.